Hello, hope you're well. This is Andrew from Matt's Movies, Music and More, and welcome one and all to the first of what I hope will be a semi-regular series in which I discuss my very expensive habit. And that habit is going to the cinema once a week. So for this video we will be discussing what I saw at the cinema throughout October 2018, which I'll say right off the bat was a improvement over a very lackluster and dry September season, with the cinema industry releasing hit after hit after hit this month. There's definitely picking up steam. Not quite Oscar season yet, but certainly we're starting to show stuff we want to put bums on seats for. So start off, I started the month by seeing A Simple Favour, directed by Feig, who is mostly known for Bridesmaids, The Heat and the Ghostbusters reboot. Wait, where are you going? Where are you going? No, don't click off this video, don't. I promise this is a good movie, alright? It's not Ghostbusters, okay? Okay. Simple Favour is a murder mystery thriller, really, starring Anna Kendrick, Blake Lively and Henry Golding, aka that travel show presenter who got really famous thanks to Crazy Rich Asians. In this movie, Anna Kendrick is Stephanie, a goody two-shoes mother who volunteers for everything, and even all the other parents go, oh God, this woman again. Who becomes friends with Blake Lively's character Emily, who is effectively the polar opposite, a PR manager who's wealthy and cool and not afraid to curse, and shows how much in love she is with her husband Sean, Henry Golding. To sum up this movie, have any of you out there seen Gone Girl or The Girl on the Train? Basically, Page Turner melodramatic murder mystery movies about cool, calculating women and or their hapless husbands. Imagine that with jokes. That's the thing. Feig has created a movie. He does this a lot with his movies, taking female characters or actors and giving them agency in genres that are usually reserved for men. Bridesmaids was kind of a female hangover, and The Heat was a female take on the buddy cop genre. And here we are with something I wouldn't normally associate him with, the murder mystery thriller. Because as time goes on in this movie, Emily goes missing, and the central mystery here is, where did she disappear to? A body has been found in the lake, so she must be dead. So why is Stephanie getting calls from her? And it becomes more apparent that Emily is not who she said she was. So it's twist after twist after twist after twist, and certainly there's lurch between tones sometimes, but he never loses sight of the dramatic mystery at play here, but at the same time it alternates between scenes of that and the typical light character humour we associate Feig with, but he reins it in a bit. There isn't anyone like Melissa McCarthy falling over every 5 seconds, let's put it like that. And I think a lot of what keeps this movie together is the chemistry between Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. They're really good together. To sum this up briefly, it is characters from the Bridesmaids universe put into a Gone Girl situation, and it works. The twists do keep piling on and on and on and on, to the point so by the time you reach the climax you're kind of twisted out, perhaps. That, oh, here's another revelation, but the more I think about it, the more I think this could stand up to repeat viewing. So this is why this movie just about edges into a buy it for me. I really enjoyed this, surprisingly. Paul Feig, has he redeemed himself after the Ghostbusters reboot? Maybe not entirely for some people, but he's definitely on the way there. Right, the second movie that I saw this month was A Star Is Born, Bradley Cooper's directorial debut, and Bradley Cooper also stars in this in the main central male role of Jackson Maine, this aging blues singer who one day walks into a bar, set up for the best jokes there, and discovers a waitress come part-time singer called Ali, played by Lady Gaga of all people, and from there they fall in love, and he encourages her to sing on stage, and from there she becomes a greater singer, whilst his alcoholism brings him deeper and deeper into decline. I will admit that I was drawn to this movie partly out of a cynical sense of a movie starring Lady Gaga in an acting role. That sounds stupid. I know she's done American Horror Story, but I wasn't familiar with that. But much to my surprise, she acquits herself well in the role of this everyday waitress who you could believe in, especially when she's talking about how the music industry has always told her that she's got a big nose. You do wonder if that comes from Lady Gaga herself or whether that's the character. But she surprised me as an actress, and Bradley Cooper surprised me as a director of how accomplished this is for his directorial debut. I will say that Lady Gaga, although she starts off well as this promising young singer who you could believe is doing this for the first time, there are a couple of moments in the concert scenes where you feel that is just Lady Gaga on display. But apart from that, Bradley Cooper as an alcoholic, yes, you do. But the second half of the movie is really focused on him, to be fair, and his decline. But even then, I think his character is the most virtuous, most ruggedly handsome alcohol sufferer, drunk person who ever lived on God's green earth. You can't quite blame him for how he turns out. He still looks great, and with his deep country and western drawl, which my mother found very difficult to understand. And even when he apologises to Ali about how he's nearly screwed up her career, she says, "It's not your fault, it's a disease." Really? Really? This isn't like a virus here. Being drunk requires some agency, but whatever. Unfortunately, I haven't seen either the 30s, 50s or 70s versions of this story, of which this is like the fourth remake, so I can't do a real comparison. But for what it is, it's a solid, if melodramatic and tear-jerking movie. The two teenage girls sitting next to me were openly bawling their eyes out during the last 10 minutes, so obviously it works for some people. But otherwise, I'd give it a solid watch it rating. Third movie I saw was Venom, directed by Ruben Fleischer. This is, I'd say, a Marvel superhero movie, except it's not by Marvel Studios themselves. Tom Hardy is Eddie Brock, a investigative reporter who is very outgoing and not afraid to speak his mind and take risks, and in doing so uncovers the works of an evil corporation and how they have tracked down and kept alien symbiotes, one of which attaches itself to him and he becomes the titular Venom character. If it sounds like I'm being a bit unenthusiastic about this movie, it's because I didn't enjoy it, to be fair, and because it's following all the tropes that I thought we'd grown out of now when it came to superhero comic book movies. Michelle Williams is in this movie as Eddie Brock's girlfriend, and she is just there to be the girlfriend. She is there to guide Eddie from A to B, guide him to the hospital, guide him to this plot point, guide him to this plot point, and to press a crucial button during the villain climax, and that's it. Oh yeah, Riz Ahmed, I had to look that up, is the villain of the movie, and he is just there to be the head of Evil Incorporated. Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock is acting his socks off. He is the one single redeeming factor in this. This is a superhero movie that falls onto the conventions that Marvel Studios, I can't claim to be somebody who loves all the Marvel movies, but between them and the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, they've done so much to develop and mature the genre that I felt we'd grown out of, say, the Halle Berry Catwoman movie, or the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, or the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies of the early noughties. You know, those ones where the villain is the head of an evil corporation, or CGI is used to create the special effects on the superheroes, and CGI is used for the climax. The climax of this movie is two blobs fighting each other, and watching this on screen, I felt like I should be pressing buttons on my game controller, where everything is used to accentuate the questionable CGI on things, where there's goofy moments of people using their superpowers for the first time and silly costumes. I mean, you watch this movie and you think, do we want to go back to crud like this? Really? Really? I saw this with an audience that were laughing throughout the whole thing. I'm not sure if they were laughing with the movie or at it. When Eddie Brock and Venom are fused together, they're talking to each other and egging each other on. And there are comic moments like that where, "Come on, Eddie, jump out the window." And he takes the lift. "You pussy." That got a laugh, so it knows its audience, I suppose, at least certainly according to the box office figures, so it must be doing something right. But at the same time, there's a mid-credits scene, and without going into details, when a certain actor turns up wearing a very obvious red Ronald McDonald wig, the man sitting next to me cried out, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" So I can't be the only one here. Like I say, Tom Hardy is trying. The jokes work once or twice, but otherwise I can't in all good honesty recommend this, and I'm giving this a forget it. So please, for the good of the human race. My penultimate movie was Bad Times at the El Royale, directed by Drew Goddard, who wrote the script for The Martian, directed and wrote Cabin in the Woods, and was also a contributor to the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series. In this movie, in 1969, four strangers gather at the El Royale Hotel, which sits exactly on the line between Nevada and California, with very pulpy crime thriller sounding names. You have Jeff Bridges as Father Flynn the priest. You have John Hamm as vacuum cleaner salesman Laramie Seymour Sullivan. Dakota Johnson as, she signs the hotel ledger as fuck off, but you find out later her name is Emily Summerspring. And Cynthia Evrio is in here as troubled singer Darlene Sweet. They stay at the El Royale Hotel, and to go further into this movie would be a bit of a spoiler because this is a mystery, and I feel part of the charm of this movie is watching the mystery and the twists unfold. Suffice to say that almost everybody is not who they say they are, or everybody is hiding something. I've noticed in some movies from the mid-90s to the early 2000s that there was a real craze of Quentin Tarantino being really successful with films like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and people in Hollywood saying, hey, we want a piece of that, we want to tap into that style and that form of directing. More often than not, this led to a lot of profane-laced killer-fons with pop culture references. I say this because this, I feel, is a movie that knows how to emulate Quentin Tarantino well. And by that I mean non-linear storytelling, and complete with title cards that say the story of the guest in room number 4 or the guest in room number 5, and this is something that happened in California 5 years ago that will become relevant. So I enjoyed seeing that unfold, and also from a directorial standpoint, how it all comes together. I'm thinking specifically of the tracking shot of when John Hamm's character discovers the hidden basement and sees all the people in their rooms, Father Flynn pulling up the floorboards going, where is it? And Darlene Sweet singing, and Emily holding somebody hostage. And I'm thinking, as this is slowly tracking across with Darlene singing, here's somebody who really knows how to arrest your attention here. Not only that, but the script is like A Simple Favor, very twisty-turny, and the performances, especially from Jeff Bridges and Cynthia Erivo, really came alive for me with this. I think what it is with this movie is within an enclosed scenario like this hotel. As someone who's done theatrical education, courses in theatre and drama, I've always been a sucker for films that take place in an enclosed environment, and it's all about the intimacy and the interaction between this small cast of characters, whereby I can play silly games in my head where I'm watching this, thinking about who would I cast among my circle of friends. I could certainly imagine Matt as the John Hamm character, I'll say that, with his big foghorn, leghorn voice. Not that I'm saying Matt is like that, but I could certainly have fun with that. And it does have, set in 1969, this does have things to say about the social political climate. There is a particular twist involving a mysterious reel of film and a politician, but that never really seems to go anywhere, or they do keep it deliberately vague. That and Chris Hemsworth's performance bothered me when it comes to this movie. Chris Hemsworth is great as Thor, but he can be very one note at times, and this was one of them. And when he turns up as the climax as the villain, we reach a dramatic confrontation that rather drags on its dramatic pauses too much. You know, the sort of thing where he's got everybody at gunpoint. Feels like that's dragged out a little. Like, for example, I'm going to spin a coin or something and see who gets to live and die. So are you going to pull the gun trigger or not? The coin hasn't finished spinning yet. It's that kind of awkward. Those nitpicks aside, this was a very engaging movie for me, and I'm going to give it a solid buy it, based purely on the fact that it's one of those mystery type movies you can watch once to see it unfold and see how they all connect together, and you find out who everyone is, and you can watch it afterwards to find all the clues. There are layers to this. Everyone has a dual nature. It's in a hotel between Nevada and California. You know, Drew Goddard is a very clever boy. I feel. And finally, I saw Bohemian Rhapsody, directed mostly by Bryan Singer, but completed by Dexter Fletcher, but it's Bryan Singer's name in the credits. Bohemian Rhapsody, as you can tell from the title, is a biopic about the story of Queen, the band Queen. Specifically, it focuses on the singer Freddie Mercury, where he came from, how he propelled Queen to fame, and a little bit of what eventually became of him, but it doesn't dwell on that too much, so much as it builds to the Live Aid concert at the end. I saw this with a group of friends, all of which, like me, have worked as ushers in theatres, and in our profession we've come across jukebox musicals or biopic musicals, so there was certainly some fun to be had seeing certain conventions played out here. Like at the beginning, it starts with a seminal concert at Live Aid or Carnegie Hall or whatever, and the hook is, how did we get to this point? Let's flash back to my childhood. And I've got an idea for a song, and then we cut to that song being played. I know, here's a bass line, or here's the lyric, what have you. As biopics go, this was very mainstream, very conventional, very palatable. And as a rock and roll story, it follows all the rock and roll cliches you'd expect from a story like this. I will rattle some off now in excruciating detail. Disapproving parents who say, you're a wild child, you don't respect your traditions, and all your prancing and singing will never amount to anything, harumph. When they form a band, we are going to go places, nothing's going to stop us. Oh no, our van has broken down halfway to the recording studio. You know we've made it big because all the tour destinations are flashing across on screen, and our van is now driving down the American highway. When to his wife, yes, I know I'm on tour all the time and I don't see enough of you, but I still love you very much and I hope we can still be together. Wait, who is this? This is my new boyfriend. And at the climax, I've got a deal from a record company to do a solo album. I don't need you guys anymore. You're always holding me back. Flash forward to 15 minutes later. My life has gone wrong because you guys weren't there to hold me back. I am so sorry, and if you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. Yeah, well, maybe we don't want to forgive you. Nah, we forgive. We just wanted to be the one screwing around with you for a change. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's all there. And yet, it works for what it is. Bryan Singer did leave about 85 and 90% through the movie and someone finished it, but you really can't tell. You really can't tell watching this. It's solidly done, and I think the one thing that everyone can agree on here is that Rami Malek does a great job as Freddie Mercury. He does have to fight once or twice with his dentures, and it's only really once we get to the 80s and that look of his that I went, yes, that is Freddie Mercury right there. But he is the centerpiece of this, and he does an admirable job. People have wondered if we should have had a more warts and all telling of what Freddie Mercury got up to, but I think Freddie Mercury never liked to talk about it, so I can understand if this movie wanted to respect that. And also there are enough subtle hints there, that coke on the table or big burly men giving come hither glances to Freddie Mercury and then disappearing into the gents' toilets. Also, towards the end, he does start coughing into a handkerchief and spots of blood, and we see him walking down a corridor in slow motion and seeing a doctor solemnly giving him the test results and his devastated face, all to the tune of "Who Wants to Live Forever?" Yes, it's cheesy, but it gets the point across, I think, like so much in this movie. All the hits are there, well, all the important hits at least, and the last 10-15 minutes of the movie are the Live Aid concert, or their part in the Live Aid concert. And at that point, if you've got a big enough screen and the sound speakers, you will believe you are an audience member at the Live Aid concert, and you will believe that man on stage is Freddie Mercury. So, very mainstream, very audience friendly. It's there to be a crowd pleasing hit, reminding you of how great Queen were and their hits were. I'd say see this on the big screen in IMAX if you've got the time and resources for it. But if you're watching this after that, then I'd say if you want to put on something and listen to Queen's music, I'd probably say first get the Greatest Hits CD, but after that, if you've got a big enough TV screen, then this does the job in a very satisfying way, which is why I'm giving this a very strong watch it. So out of all that, in terms of staying power, what I will watch for years after this, I'd say by a narrow margin, Bad Times at the El Royale gets my recommendation of the month. For my non-recommendation, I don't want to do this all the time because I don't feel movies should fall into a this is bad or this is good dichotomy, but and like I say, there are good things about this, like Tom Hardy's performance, and clearly by its box office numbers it's doing well, but I feel for the sake of all humanity we have to drop Venom in the bin. Superhero movies can do better than this. We can do better than this. So that was October 2018. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to see you back here when I will be chugging along towards the end of the year and see what fresh delights await me in November. But in the meantime, do continue to watch Matt's Movies, Music and More. And please, if you have the time and the heart, like and subscribe this channel for more great content. And I will see you later. Peace out.